The night was unusually quiet in the Galactic medical hub on Enarion, a planet known for its interstellar diplomacy and advanced medical research. In the dimly lit emergency ward, Nurse Evelyn Carter adjusted the luminescent 4 drips, her movements graceful yet precise, mirroring the serene hum of machinery. Her calm was an oasis amidst the technological complexity surrounding her. Suddenly, the power flickered and died, plunging the ward into darkness. A storm raged outside, occasional lightning illuminating the room in stark, white flashes. In one such flash, a tall figure appeared in the doorway. Evelyn's heart skipped a beat, not from fear, but from the acute awareness of something amiss. Power outages are common during Enarion's storm season, she murmured to herself, trying to sound convinced. Still, she couldn't shake off the feeling of being watched. The backup generators kicked in, casting eerie shadows across the walls. The figure stepped forward, his movements silent and menacing. He was cloaked in dark attire that blended with the newly cast shadows, his face obscured under the hood. Evelyn stood frozen, her training as a nurse providing no protocol for this scenario. "I need your help," the figure spoke, his voice low and resonant. It wasn't a request, it was a demand tinged with desperation. Evelyn's training kicked in, her voice steady. "This is a medical ward. If you need help, you must check in at the—" "I'm not here for medical attention," he interrupted, moving closer. The dim light revealed his face, marked by scars and stern features that spoke of countless battles. "I'm here for you, Evelyn Carter." Her breath caught. It was unusual for strangers to know her full name here, especially those with an aura that screamed danger. Yet, amidst the fear, a nurse's curiosity and an innate desire to help surfaced. "Who are you?" Evelyn asked, her tone a mix of caution and intrigue. "Kale," he said simply. His gaze drifted to her wrist, fixated on a tattoo visible just beneath her sleeve, a small, intricate symbol resembling the ancient glyphs of his people. His eyes widened slightly, a flicker of recognition crossing his features. Evelyn followed his gaze, touching the tattoo subconsciously. "This? It's just a tattoo from my youth, a foolish adventure among the stars." Kale's demeanor shifted subtly, his posture relaxing as he sheathed the weapon that Evelyn hadn't noticed he was holding. "That foolish adventure might be the reason you're in danger now," he confessed, his voice losing some of its earlier hardness. Evelyn's mind raced. Danger? What could a simple nurse, even on a planet as central as Enarion, have done to warrant such a statement? "What are you talking about?" she demanded, her fear mingling with frustration. Kale glanced around, as if checking for eavesdroppers in the empty ward. "There's no time to explain fully. You have to trust me. There are people who are coming for you, and that tattoo is the key. It's not just any symbol, it's the crest of the Galahad dynasty." The Galahad dynasty, a name that echoed through the corridors of galactic history as both saviors and conquerors. Evelyn's tattoo, a memento from her travels to the ancient ruins of Galahad Prime, suddenly felt like a burning mark on her skin. "Why should I trust you?" Evelyn's voice was steady, despite the pounding of her heart. "Because I was sent to kill you, but I chose to save you instead," Kale replied, his eyes locking with hers. "Your tattoo, it's a prophecy marker. You're part of something much bigger than you know." The revelation sent a chill down her spine. Prophecy? Part of something bigger? Evelyn had always felt an inexplicable pull towards the stars, a yearning that went beyond her medical duties. Now, standing in front of Kale, those feelings crystallized into a sharp sense of destiny. Kale extended his hand, not as a threat, but as an ally. "I need your trust, and you need my protection. Together, we need to figure out why they want you." Evelyn hesitated, then placed her hand in his. The storm outside seemed to roar in approval, lightning casting their shadows against the wall, intertwined and formidable. "All right, Kale," she said with a resolve born of new understanding. "Let's find out why my past is catching up to me." As they prepared to leave the ward, the power surged back, lights flickering to life, mirroring the new spark of alliance between a nurse with a mysterious tattoo and a galactic assassin with a changed heart. The storm was not just outside, It was brewing around them, and within them, as they stepped into the unknown. As Cale and Evelyn hurried through the shadowed corridors of the Galactic Medical Hub, the storm outside intensified, its howls echoing the tumult within Evelyn. She kept pace with Cale, his presence a strange comfort despite the swirling chaos of the night's revelations. "Where are we going?" Evelyn's voice was steady, despite the quick pace and her racing thoughts. "To a safe house," Cale responded without slowing. "It's not far, but we need to avoid being seen." As they exited the hospital, rain pelted them, the droplets mingling with the sweat and rain on Evelyn's brow. She noticed Cale's cautious glances skyward, searching for aerial surveillance, no doubt, a common precaution in his line of work. "Why would anyone believe I'm part of a prophecy?" Evelyn asked, her skepticism shadowed by the fear of the unknown. Cale guided her into a narrow alley, pausing to ensure they weren't followed. The Galahad dynasty wasn't just a ruling family, they were prophesied protectors of the galaxy, believed to return in times of turmoil. "Your tattoo is the dynasty's crest, an emblem thought lost to history." Evelyn absorbed his words, the gravity of her situation settling in like the storm's weight on the city. "But it's just a tattoo," she insisted, "inspired by relics I found on Galahad Prime during my university years." "That's exactly the point," Cale said, pulling her into the shadows as a drone buzzed past. "Someone has linked your academic adventures to the ancient prophecy. And they're taking no chances." They continued in silence until they reached a nondescript vehicle hidden beneath an overhang. Cale scanned the area before ushering her inside. The vehicle's interior was sparse, functional, with only the essential controls and a faint smell of ionization that suggested recently activated stealth technology. As they drove, the city's neon lights streaked past, blurring into lines of blue and green. Cale's focus remained on the road, but Evelyn could see the tension in his jaw, the concern etched deeply into his face. "You didn't answer my question," Evelyn pressed, needing to understand. "Why protect me? Why go against your mission?" Cale's gaze flicked to her briefly. "I've been asking myself the same question since I saw your tattoo. Something doesn't add up, and my orders were too precise, too urgent. It feels like there's more at stake than just an outdated threat." Evelyn pondered his words, her mind racing through her past, her archaeological digs, her scholarly articles on the Galahad myths. She had always been drawn to the lore of the dynasty, entranced by their supposed wisdom and benevolence. But to think that she could be linked to them by more than just academic interest was staggering. The vehicle slowed as they approached a heavily wooded area outside the city. The safe house, presumably. It was a low, sprawling structure, almost completely hidden by dense foliage, with dim lighting visible through tightly curtained windows. Once inside, Cale activated several security measures, the soft whirs and clicks a stark contrast to the storm's fury outside. He then turned to Evelyn, his expression solemn. "We need to find out who is behind this, why they are using the prophecy, and why now. But most importantly, we need to keep you safe." Evelyn nodded, her resolve hardening. "I want to help," she declared, surprising even herself. "I have contacts in the academic world, experts in Galahad lore. They might provide some insights." Cale considered this, then nodded. "We'll need all the help we can get. But tonight, we rest. Tomorrow's challenges will demand everything we have." As they settled into the safe house, the storm outside began to wane, its ferocity giving way to a tense calm. Evelyn lay in a small, spare room, the events of the night replaying in her mind. Sleep seemed impossible with her thoughts adrift in implications of prophecies and pursuits. The night's silence was suddenly shattered by the piercing shriek of an alarm. Cale burst into her room, his expression taut with urgency. "We need to move, now," he announced. "They've found us." Evelyn's heart raced as she followed him out of the room. The chapter closed with them disappearing into the night, the uncertain future stretching out before them like the dark, storm-swept roads they navigated. Evelyn and Cale's escape from the compromised safe house was fraught with urgency. Their breaths came in sharp gasps as they navigated the thick underbrush of the forest surrounding the area. The night was oppressively silent, their pursuers' footsteps occasionally cracking through the natural stillness, a stark reminder of the peril at their heels. Why now? Why after all these years? Evelyn whispered between breaths, her mind racing as much as her heart. Cale glanced back, his eyes scanning the dark woods for any sign of movement. The prophecy is cyclical, believed to manifest at specific times. It appears we're at the precipice of such a time. They paused beneath a towering old tree, its gnarled roots providing a momentary shield. Cale pulled out a small, holographic device, projecting a map of the region. There's an old research facility nearby, abandoned but still structurally sound. We can use it as a temporary hideout to plan our next move. As they resumed their hurried trek, the environment around them subtly changed. The forest gave way to the remnants of civilization, structures that bore the scars of time and nature's reclaiming hand. The facility appeared as a monolithic silhouette against the moonlit sky, its doors hanging ajar, a testament to its abandonment. Once inside, Cale set about securing the perimeter, while Evelyn's gaze wandered over the dusty shelves and old terminals. The air was thick with the scent of mildew and forgotten secrets. Her fingers traced the spines of moldy books, a tactile connection to the past. This place, she began, turning to Cale, feels like it's seen better days. Just like us, Cale responded dryly, joining her side after ensuring they were alone. He picked up a faded photograph from a desk, dust motes swirling in the air with the movement. But it's safe, for now. Their conversation shifted to the prophecy as they found comfortable spots amidst the decay. Cale explained more about the cyclical nature of the events foretold, each cycle supposedly culminating in a pivotal change dictated by the actions of the prophesied individuals. And you believe I'm one of these individuals? Evelyn asked, skepticism lacing her tone, yet curiosity piqued by the unfolding narrative. Not just believe, I'm convinced, Cale admitted. Your involvement with Galahad relics during your studies, your tattoo, the timing, it's too coincidental to ignore. The facility's eerie quietude lent a chilling backdrop to their discussion. As they delved deeper into the lore, sharing hypotheses and anecdotes, a bond formed, not just of circumstance, but of shared purpose. Evelyn, once just a nurse with a penchant for history, found herself at the center of a galactic-scale saga. Cale's demeanor softened as he listened to her theories, impressed by her insight. We need to access your academic research, your papers on Galahad Prime. That's going to be difficult, Evelyn conceded. My work was stored at the university archives, heavily guarded and monitored. We'll figure it out, Cale assured her, his confidence bolstering her spirits. For now, rest. We have a challenging day ahead. As they settled into the quiet of the abandoned facility, a plan began to take shape, one that would require all of Evelyn's knowledge and Cale's skills. The night grew deeper, and in the haunted silence of their refuge, they found a precarious peace. But peace was fleeting. The early hours of the morning brought with it an unexpected disruption, a low hum, barely audible over the whistling of the wind through broken windows. Cale was on his feet in an instant, his hand on his weapon. They've found us, he said, a grim note in his voice as he peered through a cracked window. Outside, the shadows moved, coalescing into the shapes of armed figures converging on their location. Evelyn rose, her resolve hardened by the night's revelations and the undeniable connection she now felt to the prophecy. Let's not wait for them to come to us. With a nod, Cale agreed, and together, they prepared to confront their pursuers. The chapter closed with them stepping out from the shadows, ready to face whatever came next, united by a newfound alliance and a shared destiny that neither could deny. Evelyn and Cale emerged from the abandoned facility, squinting against the harsh dawn light that sliced through the remnants of night. The hum that had roused them now crescendoed into a palpable threat, as figures encircled the derelict building, their intentions as stark as the weapons they brandished. Looks like our past has finally caught up to us, Cale muttered, his voice low, mirroring the tension that knotted his features. Evelyn, clutching a small, makeshift weapon, a relic from her days of archaeological digs, nodded, her resolve steeling. Then let's face it together. Their assailants approached, a mix of rugged mercenaries and sleek, uniformed operatives, likely hired by those who sought to control or squash the prophecy. The leader, a tall woman with piercing eyes and a scar bisecting her cheek, stepped forward. You could have made this easy, Kale. Surrender the girl and we all walk away, she called out, her tone authoritative yet laced with a hint of regret. Kale's grip on his weapon tightened, his stance defensive yet open, a clear sign he was ready to parley rather than fight outright. You know I can't do that, Mara. Not when there's more at stake than you've been told. Mara hesitated, her gaze shifting to Evelyn, measuring, assessing. And you, she addressed Evelyn directly, do you understand what you've stumbled into? This isn't just about ancient history or myths. It's about power, who holds it, and who decides the fate of galaxies. Evelyn stepped forward, her voice firm yet calm. I may not have sought this, but I will not shirk from it. My research, my discoveries about the Galahad dynasty, they are not just academic. They are a responsibility. The dialogue was cut short by a sudden commotion from the ranks of their pursuers. Another group, this one ragtag and desperate-looking, had arrived, clashing with Mara's forces. The distraction provided just the break Kale and Evelyn needed. Go, now! Kale shouted, grabbing Evelyn's arm and pulling her away from the melee. They sprinted into the thickening forest, the sounds of conflict echoing behind them. As they ran, Evelyn's mind raced. The layers of her life, academic, explorer, now prophesied figure, merged into a single, sharp focus. She realized the truth Kale and now Mara had hinted at. Her role was not just to uncover history but to shape its outcome. They reached a clearing where Kale had earlier stashed a hoverbike. Jumping aboard, they sped away, the landscape blurring around them as they put distance between themselves and the conflict. Where are we going? Evelyn asked, her voice steady despite the wind whipping her hair. To the one place where we can find answers and possibly turn the tide, the Galactic Archives on Sonara Prime. It's where all knowledge of the ancient dynasties is kept, under lock and key. The Archives, a fortress of knowledge as impenetrable as it was revered, loomed in Evelyn's mind, a beacon and a challenge. As they neared their destination, the narrative shifted inward, reflecting on their journey. Evelyn pondered the intertwining of fate and choice, how her academic curiosity had led her here, to moments of profound decision. Arriving at the Archives, the duo dismounted, their expressions set in determination. Whatever we find in there, it changes everything, Kale said, his hand resting briefly on her shoulder in a gesture of solidarity. Evelyn nodded, her eyes reflecting a myriad of emotions, fear, anticipation, resolution. Let's uncover the truth, once and for all. They stepped into the Archives, the doors closing behind them with a resonant thud, sealing their commitment to uncovering the past and shaping the future. Inside, the vast halls awaited, silent and watchful, as if the very annals of history held their breath.